Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the program. I'm Kelly Wright, and we're coming to you again from the Wright family home in Maryland. And my family extends to each and every one of you an invitation to come on in for the next hour as we seek to inform and inspire you. We are practicing good social distancing, and we will not isolate ourselves from you because we care about you. Which leads me to my opening observations. We lost a giant today, Bill Withers, a beautiful songwriter, a great singer. Bill Withers died at the age of 81 from heart failure, and he left us with great songs like Lovely Day, Ain't No Sunshine, Hello Like Before, and of course, one of his greatest songs, Lean on Me. And certainly in the wake of this global pandemic that we're all experiencing from the coronavirus and being told to lock down and shut down, we need to learn how to lean on each other. Sometimes in our life, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, he would say. But if we have hope, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me. And those are my opening observations. My first guest is my good friend and colleague, Dr. Benjamin Chavis. He is the president and CEO of NNPA, Black Press USA. Doc, it's good for you to join us today. We're finding out more information about this COVID-19 pandemic. What can you tell us from the Black press angle in terms of enlightening us and informing us?
Thank you very much, Kelly. And I'm so thankful, prayerfully thankful that your show is a daily show, keeping not only Black America, but all Americans and all people in the world informed. From the perspective of the National Black Press, the blackpressusa.com, represented by the National Newspaper Publishers Association, what we're finding out, we have data now from Michigan that shows that African Americans are in fact disproportionately exposed to the coronavirus. We've had anecdotal notions of that from other states, but Michigan now we have hard data. And it's also because we had pre-existing conditions that make us more vulnerable to the virus. But I'm at the point, and I'm announcing it first on your show, Kelly, that over the next few hours, the National Newspaper Publishers Association, we're going to issue a national state of emergency alert to Black America. And what we're going to say today is that the coronavirus, Kelly, is now airborne. What I mean by that, you can have your mask, you can have your gloves, and you still can be exposed to the virus. It is dangerous, it is deadly. And so these stay-home orders may cause us some discomfort, but it's better to have discomfort and live than to be comfortable on the way to the graveyard.
So we are sounding the alarm here today, as well as throughout all of the Black Press USA and the NNPA. When this message goes out to our communities, there has to be a response as well. Have you heard any response from members of the Congressional Black Caucus and other or other organizations to get this message out, and even the church?
Absolutely. I'm pleased to report to you that the National Medical Association, Dr. Oliver Brooks is the president. He has an article right now on blackpressusa.com. My colleague who doesn't write for the Black Press, but we love him, Charles Blow, who writes for the New York Times, has put an excellent video out about the disproportionality, the disparities that currently happen in our communities that make us more vulnerable. But also, I think all of our organizations, you mentioned the Congressional Black Caucus, Congresswoman Karen Bass, and all the members of the CBC, and I salute them for their diligence, their work, to make sure that we're included in the stimulus package. My concern is that in order to receive the funding for the stimulus package, you first have to be in good health. I'm concerned that some of us are not going to be alive to get the stimulus package if we don't pay attention to the call for us to self-quarantine ourselves, stay at home. This is a national, there is no state, there is no county, there is no municipality that has not been exposed to this virus. It is a global pandemic. And the rest of the world is reacting, but the United States, for some reason, has been slow. I think part of it is our arrogance. Part of us thinking that we're exceptional to the rest of the world. I think that one of the things we must talk about is the oneness of humanity. And I think it's so unfortunate, Kelly, that it takes a crisis, it takes a pandemic for us to see ourselves as brothers and sisters in one human family, not several families, but one human family, the oneness of humanity. And I would just say to our young people listening, I don't want them to panic, I don't want them to get scared, but I want you to be aware that we have to learn from our history. And the history of African people is that we've had tragedies before. We've had pandemics before. The Ebola started out, but the world rushed to stop it, to keep it from spreading. Now the world must rush to stop the coronavirus from spreading. It's the reason why they call it novel coronavirus, because it's new. There's no data that you can make a comparison with this virus. It is so new, it is so deadly, and it is so rapidly spreading. Unfortunately, on this day, I must alert everyone, Black America right now is the most vulnerable constituency in the United States of America to the coronavirus. Take heed, protect yourself, protect your family, protect your loved ones. Stay at home.
Dr. Benjamin Chavis, thank you for the update, startling as it is, but sobering, and we all should take heed of that and stay at home. Thank you for being on the program today. Keep us updated, Doc, as always.
I will. God bless you. God bless the Black press. God bless America. God bless the global community. God bless all of humanity.
Amen. Amen to that. Back with more of the program after this. Well, good evening, everyone. Joining me now on the program is Bruce LaBelle. He is helping the Trump campaign, if you will, the Trump administration, but he's also helping a lot of people within the community of Atlanta, and he joins us now. And Bruce, there are so many things that we could talk about, but obviously the elephant in the room is this COVID-19 global pandemic. And what are you doing to alleviate the fears of employees, employers, who are worried about this new normal, which I've stated often is quite abnormal?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kelly. Well, first of all, I think, for me personally, I think I know my faith, in God and of course, Christ, my wife, my family, that's pretty much my faith. And, I'll tell you, it's interesting on this question here, Kelly, because I feel like I'm putting on another hat, not so much as, Bruce, the business guy, or anything I can articulate, and, being a board member, transportation and community improvement. But I'll tell you, the ministry has played a tremendous role. And just really just speaking the words of comfort, Kelly, I was with Jensen way back, right when we were at the Evangelicals for Trump down in Miami.
No, Franklin Jensen.
Jensen Franklin, yeah, up here in Gainesville, a good
Yes.
friend of mine. And we had already had, it's interesting, we had a conversation about faith and, the bumps and the bruises that you go through. And we talked about the financial crash and how it affected his congregation as well as the church I attend at Victory World here in Atlanta. And, we all compared our notes as relates to getting back to how strong that faith-based community church is so significant, so strong in your community, and to never underestimate it. And I'll be honest with you, even like when we had Harvey and any other catastrophes, thank God for all the great faith-based communities that stepped forward. Now's the time to push stronger, to serve, and to give more. So I say that to say and encourage people about the testimonies about being obedient and faithful to helping people. And for me, my faith is, of course, in giving and tithing and being a faithful giver. That's my protection, my hedge of protection on my businesses, my family. And I've been through it, Kelly. We're old enough. We went through, I remember a little kid going through Vietnam with my dad, and going through standing in line when the interest rates or the gas was the lines were down the road in the 70s. And I remember the interest rates were 21% to buy a house. And I remember, of course, the Desert Storm situation and the 9/11 and the financial crash of 2008. And every single crisis that my mother always taught me, it went back to your faith in the Lord, faith in how you tithe, how you gave. And that's your hedge of comfort and protection. And so, our walks is always basically the best testimony, what we've been through, and you share that with people. And, I tell you, it's been enlightening for me because I feel this is a time for fishermen of men and women now. And I think this is something where I can get your attention now. I'm pulling the good out of this because obviously it's very bad what's happening and people getting sick. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to desensitize that, Kelly, but I think this is a great time to have great conversations with how God has put me where I'm at, kept my faith strong with my wife and children and my awesome marriage of 28 years and 2 awesome kids and great family, a home, food, shelter. I'm thankful for that. But more so, it gives a time for people who can reconcile relationships. A lot of people forgiving each other with some old wounds that they had. There's children and families sitting at the table now and playing Monopoly and spending time and having great conversations. So I think the Jubilee behind this is going to be tremendous. And I think, God's like, hey, let's talk about this a little bit. Whatever faith you might be, me, I choose Christ, but, I also know that there's something moving to where these relationships are going to get reconciled. So I'm glad to be on to talk about this because I normally get to talk about this. It's normally, but I think at the end of the day, one can never forget that this is who we are. We're a Christian Judea nation, one nation under God, one blood. And I think we don't forget that no matter what we go through. I was talking to my father-in-law, he's 88 years old, and he was telling me about the polio epidemic. Mr. Bell, he drives still well, he's very sharp. And he was walking me through. I said, Mr. Bell, he says, we had that polio, but we worked through it. We stuck together. We prayed. And it was interesting how they were going through a pandemic, right. And how he just looked at this and he's so peaceful at it. He's just like, Mr. Bell, you're not worried? He said, no, the Lord got this. I was like, okay, Mr. Bell. So it's been tremendous, Kelly. I've had some great conversations. I've got text messages of people reading scriptures, and one lady 2 weeks ago sent me a picture of her in a baptismal robe, how she just dedicated herself. And I'm telling you that I believe me on this. There's some great Jubilee going on right now. There's going to be some great relationships reconciled. And I always tell people, if you have someone out there that you think you need to go forgive, and no matter what happened, just now's the time.
Now's the time, yeah. Bruce Lavelle talking to me on the Kelly Wright Show. Bruce, I thank you so much for dropping some inspirational knowledge on each and every one of us. Certainly anyone watching this has got to understand that your kind of faith and your kind of hope and the kind of love that you're expressing is infectious, it's contagious. And I say that in the positive sense, since we're dealing with a very infectious disease that can destroy, but you've just given us a lot of hope that can lift people up. And I appreciate you so much for sharing that. You're a successful husband, a father, and a businessman. And we appreciate you so much. Keep leading and keep fighting the good fight with your family. Stay safe and well. God bless you.
Thanks.
All right. We'll be back with more of the Kelly Wright Show after this. Welcome back to the program. I'm talking to my guest, Dr. Yolandra Hancock, and she is a pediatrician. She's also specializing in telemedicine in the wake of this COVID-19 global pandemic. Doc, good of you to join us again on the program. For you, where does this situation stand in terms of hearing from patients who have tested positive for COVID-19? Are you treating anyone?
I am. I had my first pediatric patient just last week. And, it's very concerning, particularly for the parents. They're hearing a lot of information in the media about people dying from COVID-19. And her biggest concern is that her son is going to die. And when we before could report out that no children had died from COVID-19, that's no longer the case. We just had, we had a teenager die in California last week. And I believe there was a child under 10 who just died out in Connecticut, I believe, just yesterday. And so it's very concerning for families. What I can do is really counsel them on supportive care. We talk about the role of food as medicine in terms of helping to boost the immune system so that his little body is prepared to fight off the infection successfully.
Are we learning more about this virus and how it's spreading? Is it also airborne? There's some reports that it might be.
Right. The National Academy of Science just yesterday pushed out a report that it's sort of inconclusive, but there is concern that it could be airborne. And the challenge there is that, one, you have to balance between the evidence available to determine whether or not it truly is. And there's a difference between airborne and aerosolized. Airborne means it sits in the air for a while, and we do know that that is the case. At least 3 to 4 hours it sits in the air. But what the viral load is, or how infected that airspace is, we're still trying to figure it out. The question is it just airborne versus aerosolized, meaning it can travel through air ducts. It can travel through just talking in the little spittle and spray that comes forth when you're just having a conversation. That's the biggest concern. And you have to balance that with the creation of mass hysteria, because the minute we learn that it's aerosolized, that takes this to a whole nother level, right? When we think about infections like listeria, when a hospital has listeria in its space, the hospital ward is shut down because listeria can transfer through air ducts, air conditioning vents. If that's the case, then not only do we put ourselves at risk even going outside, but clinically our frontline workers are at risk, and the patients that we see in a room are at risk, because right now the CDC says you can shut your exam room down in 30 minutes to an hour and you should still be able to see patients. I didn't believe that, so I would shut my whole office down for the entire day if I saw one patient with suspected COVID-19, which is hugely impactful financially. But I have to protect my patients because we still don't know.
Wow. That's a lot to unpack. And so I would love to have you back on in the future, and please keep us informed with this. I always appreciate your conversations with me, and how forthright they are, and how informative you've always been for us, and keeping us also informed and inspired at the same time, because you've not given up on hope.
I have not. I have not. I believe that when we come together, which we have, people have followed the stay-at-home orders much better. We're starting to see a flattening of the curve. I think it's important for people to have a realistic understanding of what we're dealing with, and the fact that there's still a lot of unknown. So my best recommendation is to err on the side of caution and move in the space of prevention. When it comes to issues like wearing masks, those sorts of things, initially we were telling people don't wear masks. But if there's a question as to whether or not this is aerosolized, we have to take steps to protect ourselves.
Okay. Now, there aren't enough masks out there, as you know. Can we wear scarves or bandanas, anything?
That's an excellent question. There was a recent study out of the British Medical Journal just 2 years ago looking at the use of fabric masks in Vietnam during an influenza outbreak. And those masks were not only shown not to protect against the transmission of influenza, but it actually increased the risk. If you do not use something like a HEPA filter within the space of a fabric mask, you might as well go unprotected, because when you wear a fabric mask, as you breathe, the fabric holds on to moisture from your breath. That attracts viral particles onto the mask. Not only that, if someone sneezes, you can spray out. Fabrics are meant to be breathable. That's why we wear breathable clothing. So you have to keep that in mind. I love the fact that people are mobilizing and making these fabric masks, but I want to make sure that people are doing it in a safe way. Go to Walmart, any other store that you can think of that has either a HEPA filter used for vacuum cleaners or for air ducts. Cut that and make it the lining of your mask in the same way you use fusible lining for dresses. That's what's going to protect you. A simple bandana, I don't care what the CDC says, a simple bandana is not going to protect you from either transmitting it or acquiring the infection.
Dr. Yolanda Hancock, always bringing the truth to us. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
You're
And
welcome.
Yolanda Hancock joining us on the Kelly Wright Show. We'll be back with more after this. Welcome back to the Kelly Wright Show. My next guest is just a ball of fire and energy and inspiration. And I thought with all of us going through this COVID-19 global pandemic, and we're hearing how bad things are, and indeed they are, it's also good to talk to someone who can reflect on the reality that hope prevails. And that's my good friend, TJ Mercer. Hey, TJ.
Hey, thanks for having me and let me come play.
I love your
probably wait, did you warn them, Kelly, though? Because it's like it's hard to contain me.
there's no warning for this.
Listen, they don't call me the walking exclamation point for nothing. I earned that moniker really, really earnestly.
Well, you did. And you know what? If people know your story and they will hear your story today, they will stand back and be amazed at what God can do.
Yes!
I love it already. So TJ, the last time you and I talked in person was many years ago on the beach in Malibu.
Yes, that was the day you serenaded me with "Isn't She Lovely" too. That's what I remember. I don't know what you remember, but that's what I remember.
I did do that. Isn't she lovely?
Yes.
And, we were doing a photo shoot for you, as well as a story about your life. And all frivolity aside, we're living in some serious times. And as you know, TJ, there are people who are being told to stay on lockdown.
Yeah.
Now we get to the heart of the story, because you're this successful Hollywood editor. You worked with a lot of the top sitcoms and shows that came out of Hollywood, to your credit, and you worked hard to get there. And you're an HBCU graduate from Howard University.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so I told you I'm trying to contain it. I'm gonna try to contain
Before I
it.
steal all your thunder, though, to those who are living under lockdown conditions and their battered wives, abused wives, and even husbands and spouses and children living under some dire situations, they have no place to go. You've been there. Give us your best advice to people who are trapped in these conditions, under these conditions.
Well, let me just first say that, at the height of my career in Hollywood, while I was holding it down in Hollywood, no one knew I was being held down in my own home. And I was even in denial, Kelly. I really was, because, as you said, I graduated from Howard University. I have this great, successful career. I've worked for DreamWorks, Universal, Warner Brothers, you name it, I've done it. And there was no way that someone like me could be in an abusive relationship. My ex-husband almost killed me several times. So the first thing that I had to accept is that my reality, this is really happening to me. So I walked around in denial for probably about 3 years of it happening. And so once I came out of it, I recognized that there's two things I always want to accomplish with my voice. One, to help women in the situation recognize that they're in the situation, because I'm telling you, denial is real, and you can't process that you have chosen to be with someone who could do this to you. And secondly, to help people who are on the outside looking in understand why you're staying, because that's a whole different ballgame. And when you're in that situation now, I understand you're walking around on eggshells normally, you may be working, he or she may be working. And for just the sake of keeping it consistent, from my standpoint, we're going to talk about a woman being abused and the man being the abuser, but we know it goes both ways, but just to be kind of consistent.
Right.
But, you may be working out the home, he's working outside the home, so you have an escape. And if you were like me, I had worked on TV shows and come home from a 16-hour day. Kelly, you're in media. You know how long our days can be. So you come home from a 16-hour day and he's there ready to pounce on me about the most minute thing. Now, what is grieving my heart is you have no escape. And it's going to sound very simplistic and almost I'm even hesitant to say it, but almost hopeless, but there is hope. But really what I need women and men who are, being abused to just survive it. This is not the time to battle it out. This is, for me, this is just my opinion. This is not the time to try to figure out an escape strategy because, we're on lockdown and resources are limited. So do whatever you need to do to protect you and survive this thing. As much as you can secretly, you can use this time to maybe secretly, only if it's safe for you to kind of Google and research and look at ways that you can plan an exit strategy once we get out of this. But for now, I just need them to survive, Kelly. I just need them to put their head down, take it, say as little as possible, and survive it.
TJ, I want you to stay with me. We're going to take a slight break and come back and talk about this a little bit more because it's one thing that has not been discussed enough. So we'll be back with TJ Mercer and more, The Kelly Wright Show, right after this. Welcome back to the program. I'm joined with my good friend and guest, TJ Mercer, who has been a successful Hollywood editor. She's done some of the top shows for some of the top companies. But at the same time, she was being battered by her husband. And in this time of COVID-19, the global pandemic, with so many people on lockdown, we should not overlook the fact that some people are in trouble in the lockdown situation because they're with their abusers. So TJ is here to talk about how women and men, in some cases, can survive this, and children, of course. So TJ, you were talking about you want people to survive this. Now, there are some agencies that have given women safe words that they can use if they go to a prescription to have a prescription filled. Does that work? And when we're in a COVID-19 pandemic situation, where can they go if they don't have that safe word?
I haven't seen it being applied in the U.S. I've seen the stories of coming out of Italy and I think Paris, I believe, that have implemented this safe word. But what always comes up for me is if it's in international and national news, the abuser is going to know it too.
Right.
So if they're standing there with their abuser, they can't. I did do find out that the tongue-tied domestic violence hotline is 800-799-7233. 800-799-7233. But the cool thing about what I discovered when I was getting ready for you, Kelly, is they also have a chat option. So even if you cannot, make a phone call, you can perhaps grab your cell phone if it's safe, because some abusers are monitoring everything. But when you go to the bathroom or when you're, in the shower, at least reach out and see what can be done in your area. Because we're all in a new normal. So even the shelters are kind of faced with challenges, but at least try to reach out.
And TJ, you've written many books, but the one book that really got my attention was your first book was The Six-Figured Battered Woman. Yes.
The Six-Figured Battered Wife. Yes.
Tell me, so that was your story.
That was my story.
And
absolutely.
And people can actually read that now so they can understand what someone goes through to be a successful woman, highly motivated, very gifted and talented, a faith-driven woman, purpose-driven woman, and you're dealing with someone who is jealous of that and batters you.
Yeah. Well, for the next 2 days, the book is completely free on Amazon. So if you just go to Amazon.com and type in either the title, The Six-Figured Battered Wife, or my name, TJ Mercer, you can find it. It's 2 books in one. So you have one book on the front, you flip your story over, and then you have the second book. Both of them have become, are now free. And the key for me in the book is to walk you through the escalations, because an abuser just don't stand up and just slap you. It doesn't, to my knowledge, it never happens that way. There are escalations. And the thing that I wanted to do in the book, again, is to help people recognize the escalations, because it's insidious. It will sneak up on you. And if I can wake you up at the verbal abuse stage and get you out before it escalates to the physical, I'm hoping I could save some lives. But you have to recognize it, because I didn't have a clue that this is what was happening to me. And I walk you through, there's about 5 escalation stages that I walk you through before it gets to threat level red.
TJ, you've got to come back on the program, because I know you're doing a lot to help out historically Black colleges and universities. And you
Yes.
moved from lovely California to LA, lovely Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So we will stay in contact with you, and I will serenade you out. She is TJ Mercer, my good friend. And isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful? Love you so much, TJ. Thanks for the
Love
great.
you too, Kelly. Can I just tell them too, because we talk about the kids, that every day or every weekday at 2 p.m. Eastern, I do a kids story time where I sit and read a couple of kids' books to give parents a break. That is my give back during this season that we're in. So join me on my Facebook page at TJ Mercer. That's TEEJ Mercer. Every day, every weekday at 2 p.m. Eastern.
Thank you for that, and thank you for inspiring our kids. Lots of mois to you. All the
love
love.
you. Hug yourself tight for me.
All right. Love you. Peace out.
Bye.
Back with more of the show after this. So welcome back to the Kelly Wright Show. My next guest is a man that I have so much respect and admiration for. I met him through a mutual friend of ours. His name is Jose Flores. He's originally from New York City, living in sunny Florida right now. And Jose, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Kelly. It's an honor and a privilege to hang out with you, man. I really, last time we saw each other was a little while ago, so it's always fun hanging out with you, man.
Yeah, I think the last time we saw each other was in Tampa, Florida, and you were speaking, if I'm not mistaken, and did an excellent job. Jose, tell us about your life and how you made this journey into not only being a minister of the gospel, but also an incredible inspirational, motivational speaker. And you work with the likes of Les Brown and Willie Jolly, of course, who's a good friend of mine as well. And tell us how you got here.
Yeah, man. First of all, those are some great individuals such as yourself, man. I'm just so honored to be able to know you guys, you know. And, you know, like you said, I was born and raised in the Bronx, New York, and I had a great childhood, you know, great family. But I was born with a neuromuscular condition called spinal muscular atrophy. And what that does is basically the older I get, the weaker my muscles get. And the doctor said that by the age of 15, I'd be in a wheelchair. And they weren't even expecting me to live past my teenage years. And, you know, so it was pretty tough. But I have good news for everybody because this year, just back in February on the 25th, I celebrated my 43rd birthday, man. Yeah.
Happy
and so,
birthday, man. You defied all the odds.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. You know, but it was tough growing up, you know, especially in New York. You're growing up and you have this condition that's inside of you. It isn't really prevalent yet, but you know it's there, and you know at some point it's going to kick in. And so for me, that was in high school. It kicked in when I was like a junior, senior in high school. And you know how we all know how high school is. It's really, you know, that's when you're trying to like find out what you want to do with yourself, where you want to become. You're trying to fit in. And so that was a difficult period of my time, you know, growing up. But then I graduated high school, moved to Florida, where I am now, and I love it down here. But I always thought that I would never be able to do anything great in life because of this condition that I was born with. I felt like it was holding me back. I felt insignificant, incapable, and inadequate. And it wasn't until I came to Florida and I started just working a regular desk job, customer service, because I thought that was all I'd be capable of doing. You know, put a laptop on my lap, have a mouse, and it was minimal movement, you know, with my body getting weak. And so I did that for a good amount of time, about 20 years. I was in corporate America for 20 years. And then just recently in 2018, in 2018, the company that I was with for about 7 years, they were doing some layoffs and they laid me off. But by that point already, um, Kelly, I was already speaking. I had already found another calling for myself because I kind of felt like I wasn't being utilized, or I wasn't functioning to my full capacity doing customer service. There was nothing wrong with it. I liked it. I enjoyed interacting with people, but I always felt something inside like there was more that I could be doing with myself, and there was more for me out there. And that's when I started, you know, because many years of my life, I was focusing on all the things I couldn't do. You know, I can't lift my hands above my head. I can't walk. I can't stand. I can't do this. I can't do that. And I was stuck in that can't do mentality. And it wasn't until I said, okay, Jose, well, what can you do? Stop the pity party. What can you do with yourself? And I said, you know what? I still have a sound mind and I still have a voice that I can use. And so I started looking into motivational speaking, and that's when I came across, you know, the Willie Jolly and the Les Browns and the Eric Thomases and Tony Robbins and John Maxwell's and Jim Rohn and all these wonderful individuals. And I really just became a student of the craft, man, and just started studying their stage presence, studying their humor, studying their tonality and things like that. And I said, man, if these guys can do it, you know, they all had great stories. And I said, man, I can do it too, man. I have a great story and I can do it too. And that started the journey of me being a full-time entrepreneur now, and just speaking and traveling the world and impacting and inspiring, you know, everyone I come in contact with.
An incredible story, and the story just gets better and better. How has it been? And you know what? Let me save that for right after the break. I want to talk to you more about how this COVID-19 global pandemic may or may not be affecting your business. I know it's not affecting your spirit. We can see how inspirational you are and motivational you are, and so encouraging. And that's why I wanted people to meet you on this program at such a time like this. People like you, my friend, are called to carry us through and be that light in our darkness. Don't go anywhere, everybody. He's going to come back with more. I'm going to have more of Jose Flores right after the break. Welcome back. So joining me again is Jose Flores, and Jose, your life story is just so impactful. And I was talking about COVID-19 before we went to the break. What kind of effect has this global pandemic had on your profession and even your lifestyle right now?
Yeah, so, you know, I mean, I think this is having an effect on everyone, right?
Right.
But for me in particular, you know, speaking in large conferences and seminars, and then also speaking for corporations and different companies and nonprofits, a lot of the events that I had coming up are canceled. So I've been affected that way. But, you know, they're hoping and praying that things will get back on track and they'll be able to bring me back in, which is the good part of the scenario, right? But in the meantime, while those gigs and events have been canceled, I've just been trying to think outside the box on how I can continue to add value to my clients and to everyone really who follows me on social media. I've been really using this time to connect and stay connected with some of my old clients, and just send them emails, make some phone calls, and just see how everyone is doing. I'm offering a free 30-minute session, and I'm going to be going over how to stay focused during the frustration.
Yeah, Jose, I appreciate you so much, and sharing your insights and your inspiration with all of us. And certainly there are people in some dire straits. Some are obviously in ICU, and we've got people on the front lines who are dealing with the COVID-19 crisis, and they're risking their lives every day. And just a word of encouragement from you is so refreshing, and that's why I wanted you on, because you were a man who thought at one point you were not going to even get married and have children.
Right.
And even that changed in your life. You have a lovely wife, your family, and to those families who feel like they're at wit's end because of this COVID-19 and they might be in fear, they might be in dread, what's your advice to them?
You know, my main slogan, and I do this at all my events, and I have shirts and things that say it, and it says, I won't stop until I win, right? So right now, the whole world, the whole planet is going through a battle. And you have to just develop that mindset that says, no matter what, I'm not going to stop until I win. Because, you know, as we know, the good word says, this too shall pass. You know, storms come, but they don't come to stay. They come to pass. So just develop that mental toughness, that mental resilience that says, I won't stop until I win. I'm going to keep pushing through. I'm not going to stop. And eventually this is going to pass. And then the sun is going to rise up again and light will be bright and things will get back to normal, hopefully, for many of you that are out there. But if you're going through a struggle and you're going through a tough time right now, I know a lot of people have lost their jobs, hours have been cut, you know, companies are closing. And I just want to let you know, man, don't let your struggle become your standard. Raise the bar and overcome the normal that's going on right now. Overcome that. There's a lot of things I like to say, Kelly. There's a lot of things that we can't control in life. You know, I can't control this condition that's living inside of me. I can't control the process and the course that it has to take. But what I can control is my outlook, and I can control my actions. I can control my behavior. I can control what I think. I can control what I speak, and I can control my attitude, man. That's why when you see me, man, I'm always lit up. Even when I feel down and out, I'm like this, because I know, you know, what smiling and what laughing does to the body and what having a positive attitude, right? PMA, positive mental attitude, does to the body. That's why they tell cancer patients, you know, to be positive, to smile, to laugh, because it helps kill the condition that they're dealing with. And so you guys that are out there that you're struggling or feeling something, smile, laugh with your family, smile about life, be grateful for life, because what you're doing is you're killing the current condition. All right?
Got mad love for you, man. Thanks for being on the program. Got to have you back as often as you'd like to be here. My best to you and your lovely family. And I appreciate all of you guys. It's just an incredible story. I just love what God's doing in your life. And thanks for being part of the Kelly Wright Show. My good friend, Jose Flores, everybody. And we'll be having him back a lot more. I'm back with my final word right after this. Welcome back. And now for my final word. We've heard a lot of information that hopefully has informed us as well as inspired us. And I hope that each and every one of you would take time out to pray for those first line responders, our health professionals who are out there every day to try to save lives from people who are impacted and affected by the coronavirus. Finally, my friends, we hope, as always, that you've been righted, ignited, and united to keep spreading not fear, but love, freedom, and peace. We leave you now with Pucci Cologne and Waymaker. Have a great weekend, everybody. Be safe, be careful, and be prayerful. God bless.
Oh, yeah. Hallelujah. I worship you.